BMI for giving me this opportunity to moderate this, session. We have a group of, parents, whose children, who got early diagnosis of their children and group of experts. So my question would basically be to the parents for their experience. How it helps you to have your child diagnosed at early age, and what are the challenges you face? How you can push service providers to provide, better services, and what you expect from them. I want to know your, journey so far.
Based on that, everybody has been talking about that. Dr. Smitha has also talked about that. So early diagnosis basically gives you more time to, the sooner you start working on your child, the better it is, right? Those formative years, you're not missing out on those. So whether you're targeting communication or you're targeting independence or you want to work a school curriculum, academics, whichever way, you have more time to catch up on. So early diagnosis, definitely. Now next comes identifying what kind of services you would like to avail for your child, right? With so many options available. So the only thing as a parent and a professional, what I always feel is that do a little bit of homework. Try and educate yourself as best as you can and go for something which is evidence-based. I think that is the best thing to do, something that is scientific. So you're not doing trial and error with your child, you're not wasting your precious time, right? Time, energy, money, everything. In India, all parents know that everything is paid out of pocket.
So here I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How will you guide parents to go to a place where someone can suggest a therapy or a service which is evidence-based? So I have seen parents getting diverted to many places and following therapies or processes which are not evidence-based, and they are in turn going and guiding other parents that you go there. But those are not evidence-based. So we have a message to give to parents, and this message should come via parents who have been into it, who have been seen, how evidence-based processes help their child. So I would need your recommendation. How you will guide parents to go into those.
Right. So like I said, do your homework. If you are a parent of a newly diagnosed child, word of mouth, definitely. Right. There is no way you can do without, you can tell people not to talk to other parents. Parents will always go out and talk to other parents. And me as a parent, I might tell her that, so-and-so has worked for my child. And he may have something else to say. That is where the newly diagnosed parent becomes very confused. And that is where you have to exercise a lot of diligence in doing your homework. So if you're looking at any XYZ therapy, is it evidence-based? Is it founded on a science? Because if it is founded on a science, you are not doing trial and error with your child, right? 2 plus 2 will give you 4. It's evidence-based, it's scientific. What basically I'm trying to say is, so whatever you are trying to choose for your child, is it actually based on a science, or is it hearsay, or is it just word of mouth with no evidence whatsoever to speak for its efficacy? I think that should be the test on which you base it, right? So if somebody says that, I do this therapy and it works, please ask them to produce evidence. Don't go by word of mouth alone. As a parent, you are well within your rights to ask your service provider, your prospective service provider also, to ask for evidence of efficacy of their services. There's nothing wrong in doing that.
And when you meet a service provider, it's a long process, right? So, no, it's a question for you. Then I will come to Sridhar sir. When you meet a service provider, let's say for first time in couple of months, in couple of years, how should you engage with a service provider? What should be the communication level? On what areas you both should discuss? Because it's pretty much necessary that a parent and service provider, they both need to be in sync for your child to improve.
Yes.
So that is most critical part. What sort of discussions as a parent you need to have with a service provider?
Okay. So while engaging with the service provider, this is something I have always done, and as a professional, I try and do when I'm engaging with a parent. So when I'm discussing my child, I always try and review his goals as we go. So he was diagnosed a little under 2, and he's 11 now. Obviously, our goals have changed drastically, right? As
Right.
we have moved on. So review your own goals before you meet your service provider. Take feedback from them, right?
Okay.
Share your concerns. The goals have to be converging. You and your service provider have to be working on converging goals. You have to augment each other's efforts. You know,
Okay.
it has to be converging. It can't be parallel, never meeting kind of a scenario, because then you're losing out time. So like you said, getting on the same page, very, very important. For that, I think it's very important for you to be aware of your own child, what he or she is doing, is not doing, what your concerns are, what are the strengths you have identified since you last spoke, what are the areas of concern that are bothering you since you last spoke. And I think it's a good idea to discuss those, bring them up and discuss those and take feedback. So being able to take feedback is also important, I think, as a
Exactly.
parent. So if your service provider says something, take it in the right stride.
Right.
Let's see how you can work around that, work on that to help your child, right? But this is possible only if you have converging goals.
Yeah, and there is a common question every parent asks and says, why us? We have sent our child to a therapy center, to a service provider. Why we need to work? I mean, it's their job. We are not educated. Why we need to work? They will do everything. I mean, as a parent, I want to know your opinion because I feel it's very much necessary to be in sync with the service provider and work accordingly. Work what has been suggested or advised.
Right. So let's look at it this way, and which I think kind of puts it in perspective, is how much time does your child spend with your service provider? That should be the first point of consideration, right? So 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, not beyond that.
Right.
5 hours in 24 hours. How is that going to be enough? We are talking about a child who's going to need a little extra effort, a little more push, a little more hand-holding than a neurotypical child his or her age, right? Now, when somebody needs extra effort, you have to give extra effort. That extra has to come from somewhere. So, assuming a child gets 5 hours of therapy, which is quite a lot actually, intensively done, even then it adds up to only 25 hours per week for a 5-day working week, right?
Right.
But if a parent is also trying to do something at home, say another additional 2 hours or doing something as you go, you are actually augmenting those efforts. You are providing the child with a more therapeutic environment wherever you are, which once the child walks out of the therapy center is no longer possible, right? So you have to work together. That's what I said. Goals are converging. Now, when your goals are converging, your efforts have to augment and help each other rather than, say that, no, my child goes for therapy and that's that. I understand parents have a lot of constraints, time, and both parents may be working. Yes, those are very difficult scenarios, but ideal would be if the parents can also augment the efforts of the therapy center.
Okay. So I would like to know from the service provider, either from Caesars or from someone here. I mean, in the early intervention, in the early diagnosis, how do you guide parents? I mean, to get involved with children. How do you motivate parents? I mean, that's one part. I mean, parents have a question, why should we get involved? I mean, that's the part I need an answer from you. I mean, give some guidance on those areas.
Okay. I personally feel actually very few parents of children with autism will actually say, why should I get involved? Majority of the cases, 90% of the cases, you will see one of them sacrificing something to do more for their child. In a household, husband and wife, both of them cannot be on a high pressure career. Both of them cannot hold high pressure jobs, though they are immensely talented. If they have a child with autism, for example, one person takes a back seat so that they can support. Now, how they support, that's a different matter. You can outsource it to the service provider completely, or you could also learn some skills, become a parent who is empowered, and help your child at home. We use the word service provider, but just to address some of the things that Antara was reflecting on some of the things Antara was saying. The first thing is, when you go to a service provider, you need to do your homework. You need to know that there are some long-term goals and there are some short-term goals. Has my child improved on these goals? Is there data? What is the data saying? They should be able to challenge the service providers, not go by blind faith. Even if someone comes to me as a professional, I say first, they say suspect, inspect and respect. Sir, we say first suspect whether I'm really good, whether I'll really do your job or not. Inspect the work, which means you need data. Look at the data. Has the child's eye contact really improved, or are people just fooling me? Has my child really become calmer, or it is just a make-believe kind of a statement? Sometimes when you invest in therapies, there are therapies expensive, HBOT, stem cells, therapies which are like a lot of money. And parents do that saying that, हाँ कुछ तो improvement है, but if you say, Smita was showing some slides today, eye contact improved from 20% during request to 60% during request. That is improvement. So if you are able to talk to your service providers, go with data, don't go by blind faith, try to challenge. Not challenge is an aggressive or a combative way that you burn bridges, but in an appropriate scientific way. Then I think there will be a lot more good that can happen to the child.
Then how can parents continuously challenge to service provider to do a good job? Because what I feel is that this is a long process. So you cannot say something will happen overnight. So there is a chance that the service providers may lose the focus or probably may lose the energy when time passes by. So how can the parents challenge the service provider to do a good job here?
Keep them on their toes. That is why the whole topic is challenge. Why parents need to challenge service providers. Keep them on their toes. Data. Don't fight. Don't put some kind of a brutal bullying pressure that I'm not saying I'm going to badmouth you. I'll put bad remarks about you on social media. That's not going to work. But what will work is, I'm really concerned that my child who was improving on all this mathematics, why is he not able to move from addition to multiplication? Can we do something about it? Keep the service provider will also be, it's a journey together. It is not one against the other. Both of you we have to walk the journey together in sync. Like it's teamwork.
Okay, I would, maybe probably you can share your experience also. I mean, how early diagnosis helped you? And probably what are the challenges you faced, if any, from the service providers, so that service providers can give their opinion? I mean, how can you overcome that problem?
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Nanda. Actually, I am not a professional, a proper parent, I can say, so I cannot put any technical terms here. Better I'll share my short experience, so I can able to answer all the questions which you asked for. I am a proud parent of an autistic son of 5 years old. He has created this stage, I can say. So I never gone into this kind of stages, so I'm proud. Second is, we got my son diagnosed at 18 months old when he was. We are from a village where in Coimbatore and South, so the autism word itself kind of new one for us, and we are completely worried, stressed. We don't know our light of path has gone. So you are in the so much frustrated time. Fortunately, we have got guidance from the Vinodini madam who is here. What is autism? We have been educated. We have been explained about what is autism, and it makes us to understand first, accept first. Then, around 2 years, we have been again evaluated or assessed in Nimans, Bangalore, and Vellore CMC. Then, at that time, what happened is I was away. The parents. Then we come to know parents' involvement is more important in child's development. It's not only therapies or the treatment. I am staying in Bangalore. My wife's staying in some other part, and going for therapies only doesn't improve my child. So both of the parent has to be involved. Then we came to know. Then what we decided is then we shifted back to Bangalore. So me, my son, and my wife were staying together. There the challenge started, about the therapy providers. We were going to around 4 to 5, really 10 service providers, okay? I'm just not naming them. One thing what happens is the doors were closed all the time. Only we will leave the son, we don't know what's happening. And second thing is straight away they ask in money, put in lakhs or thousands, we have to pay upfront, and we have to wait for the result. And even honestly speaking, I tried some of them as well. And it happened already. We are in an emotional, stress, and now become a financial stress as well, because we are going around. Then what happened? We got into the right center, I can say, where the therapies, where Sridhar sir mentioned, we get update day-to-day basis on the diaries. We get update fortnightly on the observation. We get update. We have case-to-case meeting every month. And anytime if I want to challenge the provider, I can get inside. I can watch what my son is doing. And not only this, whatever happens morning in his normal school, now he's going for a junior KG, whatever the challenges is there, the service provider here goes and sits there and watches what's happening in this normal school, and they took the note, and they are improving on the afternoon therapy sessions. So what I'm telling is, not only there on the 2 hours I'm speaking, the way me and my wife, how we behave in our home is changed now. We speak very little, in the sense how, so that my son can understand. If I want to ask my wife, give me a cup of water, I ask, water, give me cup of water, then my son started now to speak. Okay. On the first time, he started with a single word when we started ABA within 3-4 months. I can say during the first conference, this is the milestone I always keep. On the second conference, he started to ask, Appa, can you give me water? Or 3 to 4 words. Now, believe me or not, he doesn't speak mother tongue. We started to speak English in our home, because he can easily learn English. I don't know, he started to learn mother tongue as well. He asked, I don't know how it comes, because sometimes he asked in Tamil, actually. We didn't teach him. Then we thought, well, how it happened? So then what happened is, so what I'm trying to say is, not only therapists, 2 hours or 4 hours, it improves a lot, no doubt. What I do is, I go there, I ask them what we should do at home. What should we do at home? It's not that, if they say no, it's our job, then you'll come to know what it is. They tell us, you practice this. Or sometimes I'm not only telling the past, there are some challenging behaviors, I can't take him somewhere out, or I can't stay long for outside. But still, whatever I say, I make a note. The data, not only the data, what the therapist or the therapy center, what's happening, you have to collect that as a parent. If you go out, if you go for a journey, what and all is doing, if you go for a restaurant, if you go out, what's happening. All this data we collect, and we use it, and we give it back to the therapy center, and they work on it. So the explanation why so big is, the parents has to get involved more. And we parents, there is many autism kids, I tell you here, they are very good observers. If I'm upset, if I'm happy, he is able to observe that. He's able to replicate that. So try to spread as much positive energy in the home. You and wife work together, in the sense spouse work together to make the kid happy. Don't worry about the social pressure, I can say here, which I undergone literally, The first time when my son is having autism, I was worried, will he get married? Will he go? What is his future? Where he will stay?
I have a question for you here.
Yeah.
Can you please briefly tell, what is the time period, approximately, when your child got, diagnosed with autism?
Yeah.
And how much time it took you to really accept the fact that your child has autism? And you mentioned that you have been running one place to another. So what message you can give to parents so that they don't do the same mistake and they can easily accept that fact? But because that is a major problem, because by that time we accept the fact that our children is autistic and we can really help him, we keep on running, we lose probably years. We diagnose early. There are parents, there are kids who have been diagnosed early, but the meaningful therapy starts years after that. What would be your message to parents? How can you help parents there from your experience?
Okay, I may be wrong in my words. Once the son or the kid, if you come to know it is autism, first the treatment has to be given to the parents, not to the kids. Because the parents are getting too much stressed, distressed, and they have to be educated, they have to be awareness, acceptance, inclusion should be there first with the parents. I can't look and see my wife, or I can't see my eyes, what's happening between us. So first, parents should be aware of this. Second thing, which as you mentioned, first of all, don't worry about the social pressure. Okay, in India, typically we have to live for society, not for ourselves. That is the biggest problem. Now, for his future, what happens after we live, after we die? Nothing. Till the last minute I live, I want to live happily with my son, make him happy. That's what our intention. Whether he gets married or not doesn't matter. All married are not happy, or all married are happy. I can't comment about it. So, second thing is, people, I don't want to put too many, see, that's one telling. The first time what happened is, as you mentioned, I have that first one word when he speaks, whether he'll get me. Second time what happened, at least let him finish his education, what happens, let's see. Now my sitting here, because the stage is created by my son, otherwise I wouldn't have come here, right? He has developed, so they call me, right? So the last thing which I would like to say is, now our intention for my kid is, let him live a independent and a decent life till his living. That's it. We'll do that whatever. Till we live, we'll take care of him. That's enough for us. We believe in the service providers, in the sense, we are not professionals. I don't want to be professional because I want to approach my kid as a parent, which 4 hours of therapy, 20 hours is with me. So that's what I want. So we do that parental therapy for my son, and rest of them, the service providers will take care. I believe them, it will happen. Thank you.
Okay. So, basically from you, I mean, what would be your message to a parent, I mean, whose child has been diagnosed early? I mean, how they can help their child? Because they have a great opportunity, because their child has been diagnosed early. They have a great opportunity to help him in his journey. So what would be your message to those parents? What should they follow?
I actually have a message for parents and for professionals, because I think something Coda said when she was presenting, don't worry so much about perfection with that lag schedule. And oftentimes, me wearing both hats, I have to remind myself that parents haven't gone through all the coursework. Sometimes they get overwhelmed when they see a graph or see data. And that it might be simpler to just ask the professionals, what should I see different from this intervention, and when should I expect this to happen? What's the progress I should see here? And that may be easier to understand. And for the professionals, the message is, rather than trying to bog parents down with data, many parents love data. I love data. But not all of them do, and not all of them understand it. So if they don't, then sit down and be able to explain the reality of, here's where they're at, here's what we're working on, this is where it's going, because many parents want to know, when is my child getting married? When are they going to be able to learn math? When are they going to be able to learn how to read? And sometimes, wearing the professional hat, we tend to just want to comfort the parent and not tell them reality of, that's going to come, but right now what's important, for example, is that your child learn how to communicate. If he doesn't have the basic skills of communication, it's going to be very difficult for him to learn math and reading. So just wanted to send that message out to everyone. And then even in terms of the diagnosis, I personally am a proponent of, right now, don't worry so much about the diagnosis. I think we grieve more because we get tied up in the diagnosis. So when I talk to parents, I often tell them, even if I'm almost 100% sure this child has autism, and I'll tell them, look, whether or not your child has autism doesn't matter. He's a child, he has these needs, and what really does matter is being able to help. If he has autism and you help, it's great. If you don't help, it could be devastating. If he doesn't have autism, you had nothing to lose. All you did was give a little push and help him. And sometimes talking to parents in that manner and just putting them at ease tends to make it more doable. And then giving, for the parents, not thinking they have to sit down at a table and run interventions the way they see them at the therapy sessions. Being able to ask the professionals, can you tell me what one simple thing I can do at home to make a difference? And be honest about, look, I have 3 more children at home. I have an infant. There's no way I can be by myself running interventions with my son. So what can I do under these conditions? And any good behavior analyst, any good therapist should be able to say, analyze that environment and say, well, what are the things that are doable? Sometimes it's just a lack of communication. So I've heard a word that has resonated with me a lot today, and it's convergent treatment. We all need to work together. We all need to understand each other, but we need to make it doable in all environments.
Okay. So
I think we should ask Mr. Raghav Merda to share his experience.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Because he has a grown-up son, I think there is a lot that we can learn
I
from
was
him.
coming to you.
Sorry to take.
Yeah, I was coming to him only. Yeah. So, sir, can you please share your experience?
Good afternoon. I have a son who is adult and probably he is now 30 years old. So as a grown-up child, I have a different kind of issues with him. See, like 30 years old, now the times have changed, awareness have increased. Even when he was young, he was not behaving like a normal child. So we are wondering what's the problem, what is the really issues. So we couldn't really understand what exactly is the problem. So to get the right problem, it took so much of time to go. As but someone said rightly that you don't have to bother about what exactly is the name of the difficulties he's going through. It's more important is how you can help him out. So that's how you have to work on him. So we tried to go through various places, and unfortunately he was vocal, and we could get some assistance from the beginning. And he went to a normal school also, we could get that advantage. The school was very cooperative and all. But ultimately what I find is that if you are not able to get to the right people, you can't maximize the potential of your child. So you must reach the right center. Like, the early intervention and all, like the other gentleman was saying, now you have so much internet is available. It was not there before. So we had to really struggle. We have to go to various places, maybe NIMH, which was called earlier NIMH. When there, my wife went, studied in the library, tried to understand what really is the problems and all. So gradually he came up. So we were fortunate to get to the right center when we came across BMI. Dr. Avasthi. She was the one who really brought we never thought that the child can really do so much things which she could bring him out. She could maximize the potential which he had. Something like, we never thought he will be able to shaving himself. But after a lot of, it took little time. But then he could just do shave now. I mean, and we could really see a confident person, so much difference. So it is very important to go to the right professional, right advice, right center, so that you can, get the maximum potential of the child. So I think for the parents to really go to the right place, have a lot of patience, encourage this child, keep them engaged so that they don't come across different issues, behavioral problems, and keep them encouraging. Keep them encouraging that help them out and have a lot of patience. We have to have a lot of patience, and of course we'll have challenges like, as a grown-up child and as a aging parent, you would have a stage in like, what after us? So that's the biggest challenge we come across. So that is where you see whether we should get him married, whether or not he has also, although he is doing everything, he is going to the office, he is working, he is commuting himself independently. But then of course, I mean, you feel that, okay, when we are here, no problem. What happens after us? So that's the biggest challenge. So that's where we are still not able to find an answer, And we are still, I think, exploring, and with the guidance and with the time as it's changing, awareness has increased as compared to the past. Internet has created wonders. We come across people. We come to know so many things which were not known earlier. So I guess the parent needs to remain focused and not bothered, and keep working on him. And he can do something which you never thought he will be able to do, the child will be able to do. So we need to keep on working on our child, and I'm sure he will be able to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for lovely comments. So, okay. Thank you for all your lovely suggestions. Maybe, ma'am, probably you can share some of your ideas briefly.
Okay.
Probably.
Thank you very much for having me here. My son, I was born in Japan, but I lived in Canada for more than 30 years and returned to Japan 7, 8 years ago to take care of my mother. My son was diagnosed in British Columbia, Canada at age 4. That very year, the government started the public funding for the early intervention. So we're very lucky to have the experts helping my son. I was a consumer of the ABA service for 11 years. Also, later on, when I became a behavior analyst, I served as an autism early intervention specialist for the British Columbia government for 4 to 5 years, and then returning to Japan. The situation is completely different. It's very different. So I hear a lot of the echoes from the stories that I hear from everyone here, that echoes the voices of my friends and colleagues and thousands of parents. In Japan now we're demanding the public funding for the ABA treatments for kids with autism. So just want to say that we trust people as parents. This is so important.
Correct.
That we trust in the goodness of people. And I think we are all saying that we hope our kids to grow up and become independent. That means that we want them to grow up to be someone who is loved and liked by people.
Okay.
And that's what I hope for.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So I think we are done for the day.